we understand the value of mentorship and the value of those who have paved a trail. And as Dr. Lieberman mentioned, she has been here for 27 years. And so many times we like to come into a place and think that all of our new ideas are hot, and it's time for everybody to just jump out the way and let the next generation take over, young people. But I want you to remember that the guidance and the wisdom and the years of service that our elders and that our mature professionals have put in is never to be neglected, forgotten, or underestimated. And I am honored to sit under her tutelage each day, to watch the way she mentors and teaches her students, and I'm honored to follow in your footsteps and to be a part of this journey. So I am so thrilled. I have the distinct pleasure and honor of collecting all of your RSVPs. And as I watched the RSVPs pour in the beginning, I thought, ooh, is anybody coming? It took a while. And then as the days drew near, they started coming in greater measure. And after the video promo went out, we got a nice influx, because those of us who are neurodiverse, we divergent, particularly the right brain learners among us, we like visuals and imagery, and so that really stuck for a lot of people, and the RSVPs came in. And we reached a point where the numbers exceeded the number of seats we had and the budget we had for food. We haven't proven ourselves yet, so we have a quite fixed budget to work with today. And we said, what do we do? Do we stop? No, keep taking the registrations. We thought we'd have 60 people. We ended up with almost 100 RSVPs for this event. And what I want to share with you on the very last RSVP that I received, I'd like you to allow me to read this email, because I did receive many beautiful emails from you. And so I'm not playing teacher's pet or favorite or anything, but this one I received at 1:41 a.m. this morning. This was the last RSVP, and this one sums up for us all why we are here today and why this work is so important and so timely for our community. Hi, Niki. First, I want to say congratulations on the ribbon-cutting ceremony and the Neurodiversity Center. It is a true blessing. I'm very interested in being involved and would like to register for the event at 1:41 a.m. Don't worry, I don't need to eat. And unfortunately, I don't really know how long I can participate, but hopefully there'll be more opportunities as the center grows. I'm sorry for this rambling, but the fact that I am RSVPing this late is just indicative of my life, a life of someone with autism. My son is autistic Asperger's. He is 23 and has been a student at University of Laverne for 5 years. He will be graduating next Saturday with his art degree. Wow. I couldn't be prouder. As a result of my experiences, I have many ideas, a few lifetimes worth, that I would love to share to help other families negotiate this neurodiverse world. I am a true champion to this cause. Good luck tomorrow. I hope to be there and meet you. But the semester's not over, and my son has a film to produce. But regardless, please feel free to call me anytime. Congratulations again. Marsha, would you be willing? Where's Marsha? Right here. Thank you so much. We are here because families have for so long felt isolated, unsupported. We are here because teachers for many years have felt under-equipped and underprepared to meet the needs of the wide range of students that are presented to them. But more and more in our society, we are reaching a crisis point where either the system has to change or something has to break. We have overloaded ourselves with diagnoses and labels and things and ways to compartmentalize and segregate and to decide who gets a piece of the pie and who gets to sit on the sidelines. And so for that reason, at the core of what we are offering to you as the Center for Neurodiversity, Learning and Wellness is a new social justice agenda. And we'll be here to explain that and to invite each and every one of you, not just for today. You thought you just came for a nice lunch and some conversation. You came, you signed up to become a part of a mission, to become a part of a revolution, to become a part of a paradigm shift where we as a society decide and determine that each and every person who occupies, every spirit, every soul occupy a physical body in this incarnation has a reason and a purpose for being here, and has a unique set of gifts, talents, strengths, and contributions that will forever fundamentally shift, evolve, and push our society in the direction that we are aiming to go. Would you agree? Yes. And so in order for us to really embrace that, we have to be willing to unpack and really look clearly and look honestly at the the unspoken and hidden biases and orientations that we take for granted in our life that necessarily exclude, limit, or restrict many people's ability to participate and as fully as they would prefer in society. So the reason that this message is so personal to me, I have to thank Dr. Kimberly White-Smith. It'll look like I'm stealing her story, but I'm not really stealing her story. But actually, she is part of the inspiration in my life for why I adopted a child from DCFS. I looked at her in her life, and I thought, wow, what a difference someone can make in the lives of Kimberly and her brother Chucky, to put in the love, the time, the compassion that I watched her mother pour into their lives over the years. And because my family had the means and the opportunity, I too thought I would love to bless someone and be a part of their life in that way. And so we adopted a child from DCFS with significant developmental, cognitive, behavioral developmental delays. And I tell you, if not for that experience, I would not understand the struggle of so many families that fight daily to get services. I am a person with a PhD degree from an R1 institution, Ivy League graduate. I can work my way around a system. I can work my way around a form. And I could not work my way around Regional Center and DCFS and post-adoptions and IEPs. To take a child that is 10 years old presently and just recently came and said, "Mommy, I can sing my ABCs now." And have an eye on that child and say, I don't care what the record says. I don't care what the evidence that I'm seeing here that suggests to me I should not have high expectations for this child. In my spirit, in my mind, in my worldview, as your parent, as your teacher, as your physician, as your mental health care provider, as your spiritual teacher, it is our responsibility to keep our consciousness and to keep our mind forever focused on what is possible for them, to see the spirit of the learner rather than the diagnosis. Amen. I cannot count for you the number of times my son has never played on Parks and Rec. Can you imagine that? A child can't be on a basketball team because parents are there to win. And when your child dribbles the ball toward the wrong basket, no one is sitting at the park trying to say, "Oh yes, let's give him a chance." They're saying, "Coach, get that kid off the floor. I want my kid and my team to win." These are the mindsets that we bring. When your child goes to Boy Scouts or to the Boys and Girls Club and they're distributing behaviors and developmental delays that say, "I'm so sorry, we would really love to include your child, but we have never been trained to work with children like this." I am not alone in this. My family, fortunately, is resourceful. We've been able to hire all of the support and finally got through the IEPs and finally got through to DCFS and finally got through to Regional Center to assure our son a lifetime of services, no matter what his cognitive development. But what about all the families who don't have that agency, that access, or those resources? The Center for Neurodiversity, Learning, and Wellness will be here for them and for you. Major part of our agenda is to develop the mindsets of all of us as parents, to develop the capacity of classroom educators, to develop the capacity of community educators, Sunday school teachers, park and rec coaches, all people who interact with children and society, but not just from elementary and childhood age. There are neurodiverse learners of all ages. We even plan to include support for University of Laverne students who want to understand, again, as we mentioned in the letter, how to best support and shine their gifts through the autistic lens, through attention. We say attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but in our spiritual teachings, we call it attention dialed to higher dimensions. because we understand that many of those students are really focused on high-level creative ideas and have a wealth of contributions to make, and so we really want to change all of that discourse. So what I'd like to share with you, if we could go to the next screen, is what does this word neurodiversity mean? So since all of you are going to be partnering with us, again, you didn't know that you were coming here to join a revolution, so we need to have common working definitions of what we're talking about when we say, what is neurodiversity? And we understand here that the neurodiversity movement recognizes the richness and the complexity of human nature and the human brain. It accepts atypical neurological development as a normal human difference that is to be recognized and respected as any other human variation. When we think about neurodiversity, we are trying to understand that this is another type of diversity, just like there's diversity of gender, a diversity of gender expression, there's a diversity of ethnicity, we have a diversity of religious and cultural values, and now we are accepting and calling forward as the next step in this agenda, understanding that we have different ways that our brains function. There are ways that all of us are neurologically typical, meaning ability to conform to the normal way that people would learn something or think about something or socialize. And there are ways that we are all neuroatypical. Unfortunately, our schools and our learning spaces are designed to conform to a particular norm, and then anyone who falls outside of that is falling into areas where they're being excluded, labeled, or diagnosed. And we are not here, let me be very clear, as a foundational principle and value of our center. When we say that we're here to recognize it and address and accept and embrace all neurological diversity, we are not in any way minimizing the experience of people whose conditions and challenges really restrict their quality of life and make it difficult for them to participate fully in society. What we are saying is that we're not trying to make anybody quote-unquote normal, right? We say, you'll be okay when you learn how to read. What if I said that to my son? I love you when you learn how to read. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with parents, and again, it's the way we've been indoctrinated. Every parent loves their child. Every parent wants the best for their child. And I won't say that I haven't fallen into it too, but when will it be that my child fits in? When will it be that my child is normal? But what do we lose in this effort to make people normal? A rich complexity and diversity of expression, which we'll be able to see later on today. So back to my point, I want to be clear that when a person is experiencing challenges and difficulties through the expression of their neurodiversity that restrict their life, their ability to participate in society, the ability of a family to function and flow together. I know many families that are not able to travel, that was our experience, or take long vacations or do things because of the conditions and the symptoms. We are not here to minimize that at all, but we are not here to make anyone normal. What we are here to do is to support an agenda that will allow every person who walks through our doors to participate in society as fully as possible in ways that are meaningful to them. So I want to say that again. We're not here to establish a normal. What we mean by neurodiversity and this respect for the natural variations of the human mind is to support each individual who walks through our doors to be able to participate in society, to participate fully in society as much as possible in ways that are meaningful to who? To them. Because we are pushing people toward norms of normal that have no value and no meaning for who they are, what they came to do, or who the divine spark in their spirit and in their soul to become. I know some of you didn't go to church this morning, but you know you're going to get something. There's a passion, there's a presence, there's a purpose, there's a divine spark that is in each of us. And we know that people who have been labeled with autism and certain other neurological neurodivergent traits have been fantastic at science, fantastic in technology, in areas where the unique way that their mind works naturally predisposes them to excel in ways that people who are more socially oriented cannot sustain their attention. I've worked with a person on the autism spectrum who said, people keep saying I have a socio-emotional disorder, but sometimes I think you people have excessive social disorder. From that perspective, right? You are excessively social. You normal people, you are excessively concerned with what other people think. You are excessively concerned with looking people in the eye and tuning into what they're doing. You're missing all this work over here because you're caring about what's going on at the cooler. What's wrong with you? But when we have not normed our culture in that way, all we see is deficit. So if we could slide, please. So what we're trying to disrupt in the Center of Neurodiversity Learning and Wellness is this institutionalized deficit discourse. Now, I don't want to date myself here. Even if I'm old, I hope I still look all right. I'm holding it together. But for you 70s and 80s babies, we used to say when somebody got teased for their tennis shoes, or you get a your mama joke or other kind of things, ooh, you got dissed. You got dissed. You got what? Dissed, which meant you were disrespected. All right? So everybody laughed. You got dissed. You just got dissed. You got disrespected. But what are we doing when we diss our children? With their dysfunctions and their disabilities and their disorders. And we sit in our cooler, in our cafes, and in our teacher lounges, and in our offices, and we pull out files, and we talk about dysfunctions, disabilities, and disorders. We are disrespecting the soul and the nature of the child that is exceedingly, abundantly, above and beyond in capability what we are assigning to them by these disrespectful labels. And again, as you see from this level, this is in our medical journals. These are in the diagnoses we use in the classroom and to set up medications and to set up treatment plans. Do you understand? We're trying to uproot a systemic view. But why is this so important? It's something about the observer effect in science. You know how they say that energy moves in quantum physics just by it being observed. So if we are observing people, students of all ages, with an eye for their dysfunctions, with an eye for their disabilities, with an eye for their disorders, what are we calling forth in them? More of the same. And those of us who are in education research, we understand that it is similar in race. So when I was a school teacher, once we understood that just simply by having a student mark their own ethnicity on the bubble in the standardized test, there was a measurable decline in the student's test score regardless of their academic potential. You understand that? That simply by having a child bubble their ethnicity, the scores of the white and Asian students went up, the scores of the Latino and African American students went down. This has been replicated over and over. So just by having a mind associated with the stereotypes that go along with being a certain ethnicity caused a change in the student's performance that was otherwise capable. And so when I was a school teacher and also when I worked at a charter school, I made an insistence among the entire staff that the teachers had to bubble the ethnicity for the children after the standardized testing had been completed.
That's right. Nice.
So if any of you, that's just a golden nugget for you to take back. But I'm transferring that to this conversation as well. When we speak to children, when we qualify children, when we classify children by their label, when we see the diagnosis and the label, before we have addressed the spirit of the learner, we run the risk of creating an observer effect that allows them to continue to perform in line with the consciousness that we are viewing them in. And so what do we need to do about that? We need to create a new social justice agenda. And I am not fooling myself to believe that it is something that will change overnight, but I believe it can change in this generation and this lifetime because we have seen so many other social justice agendas advance in our culture in ways that were not previously thought possible, of bringing greater equity and access to all people regardless of their gender expression, sexual expression, race, religion, and ethnicity. And so I want to share, when I first came to the University of Laverne, I had to shadow Dr. Taylor and co-teach a class with her, a behavior and special ed class. And on the first day of class, she gave this beautiful definition of social justice. Because a lot of times when you think about that, like if I tell you, you just joined a mission, you go, oh, I'm not ready for battle, I don't want to fight, I'm not a warrior, I'm not, we think about marching and a lot of things that some people like to shy back from, but what I'm going to leave you with today will give you such a new perspective on what it means to stand for this as a social justice agenda. I hope you will sear it in your heart and carry it with you all the days of your life. So one thing you need to know about Dr. Taylor is that she is a beautiful wordsmith. She loves the root meaning of words. So she didn't just take social justice and meaning, yes, let's fight for equality, which is what I would come in with originally. So she broke down the word social. The root word of social means companion. And companion means to break bread with or to nurture. So that root word of social, when you think of being social, you want to from now on think about breaking bread with or nurturing. And then the word justice means to be righteous, to be beautiful, and to be equitable. And so what I'm asking each and every one of you today, as you share your insights and perspectives with us, and as you go back into your lives, into the communities you serve, to think about social justice this way. Every time you see a person who has been labeled with a dysfunction, disorder, disability, can you find a way to nurture them in a beautiful, righteous, and equitable way? How's that feel?
Yeah,
So this is not about fighting against. When I'm not asking you to fight about anything, when I'm asking you to join the Center for Neurodiversity, Learning, and Wellness on this social justice agenda, we're not fighting against anything. We're not fighting for anything. We're not fighting at all. Does that take some pressure off of all of you? We're not fighting at all. All we're planning to do as we walk out of this room is make a conscious decision and a commitment that every time we see someone, encounter someone that we perceive to be neurodivergent, that we find a way to nurture them in a beautiful, righteous, and equitable way. To find the ways to broaden our ideas of normal, and to find a way to be curious about the ways in which they shine and in which their genius is called to spark some inspiration and some new ways in you. You know, you get to sit in class and be straight A's with math, and if somebody came and brought you some music and you said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not musical, you don't get judged and called atypical or disordered. You're not musically disordered. You're not labeled musically disordered. But if you are musically genius and you struggle with math or literacy, then you get a disorder because of the way that we norm. Okay? So can we, thank you. So I love this quote by Dr. Oliver Sacks. He says, deficits, disorders, diseases can play a paradoxical role by bringing out latent powers, developments, evolutions, forms of life that might never have been seen or even imaginable in their absence. So the next time you see a child on the autism spectrum, I want you to just think about this quote. Think about what divine purpose the Creator may have had in mind for the way that that mind works and the unique genius level contributions that that mind is biologically predisposed to contribute to our society. And mind the gold. That's why we call this, the theme of our work is Mind Your Mind. Because not just for the students that have received these labels need this information. All of us, who in this room was ever taught how to pay attention? When somebody says pay attention, who ever taught you, how do you pay attention? Anybody want to hear? How do you pay attention? What are the exact steps and mechanisms of paying attention? What are the exact steps and mechanisms of paying attention that work for you? And the way that you figured that out was by you unconsciously engaging in the process of learning how to mind your mind. And that's something that we all have to be able to do. So why not have the math whiz be pushed to learn music or be pushed to express creativity? No, I've done it too. How many of you have said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just not creative? So we're neurologically atypical in that point. So when do we get pushed to forced to be creative, to be forced to be imaginative? Because there's gifts and strengths that are left on the table when we get to sit back and say, oh, I don't have to develop that because I succeed and thrive in the ways that school or society has determined are okay. All right? So how do we plan to share this work with you all? We are to address this entire agenda in order for us to go forward as a community to nurture in a beautiful, just, and equitable way. The Center for Neurodiversity, Learning, and Wellness will be unraveling and revealing a series of one-to-one student support services, which could look like tutoring, could look like coaching. Those of you, how many of you Laverne students do we have here, or alum, teacher ed? Great. So look around the room. These are all people who will be brought in to offer tutoring services and coaching. Then put your hands down. You didn't know you came to work. So not just them, but we will have specific strategies. Do you understand there's a developing field of education neuroscience, and certain universities are developing programs in mind, brain, and education, where people are actually being taught how the brain learns. and understanding brain anatomy and all of the neurological processes that are involved. My particular work is on energy therapy. I happen to have specialty in working with children who have anxiety, are highly sensitive, intuitive, or empathic, and are overloaded and overwhelmed in classroom environments. So energy therapy will also be involved, and teachers can be taught. Has anyone ever taught you how to manage the energy of your classroom? Do you understand how valuable that is to people who are neurologically divergent? I'm going to be able to teach you how to manage the energy of your classroom. All right, so we'll be able to bring all of these. When Dr. Lieberman said cutting edge, we definitely intend to be cutting edge, but you never thought you would go to a university and be learning energy therapy and holistic healing. Dr. Schrader will be bringing mindfulness for those of you who want effective self-regulation strategies. We don't call it behavior and discipline. We're not here to punish, but we want to enhance self-regulation. And so we'll be rolling out mindfulness therapies, mindfulness trainings. You can come and have an ongoing lifetime supply of professional development with us to learn how to bring all of these strategies and to enhance your worldview. We're really excited about the mindfulness, yes. We will be offering certificate programs in the mindfulness, in mind, brain, and education. We'll absolutely revolutionize your way of teaching. We also will be offering professional development for community educators. I'm really honored. Is McKinley here? McKinley Children's Center? Yes, thank you all. We had a really nice turnout. There were some other people from a church in the city of Laverne. Did they make it in today? I was really thrilled to see a lot of our community educator partners and community service partners. We will be in a position to offer professional development that you can take in your foster family and mental health services that enhance an understanding of the brain. And we're looking to partner with school districts as well as nonprofit, Parks and Rec. I can't wait to get my hands on training the Boys and Girls Club so that children can be included rather than excluded from their programs. So we will have an ongoing work with that. For you parents, we will be offering community workshops and parent education, teaching you how to offer mindfulness, meditation in your home with your children. If you have a child who is on the spectrum or has other neurological differences, what does it profit them to learn at school in a way that is not addressing their needs and then come home and learn with you? We tend to teach in the way that we learn ourselves. So when we have a child who is neurologically divergent, we need to learn how to teach in the way that works for them. That will bring the stress levels down, increase your joy factor, and bring families back to being able to really enjoy spending their time together. So we'll be having a lot of community workshops that teach parents how to work effectively. And parents, how many of you want to learn how to manage the energy of your own home? We'll be also working on that as well with the energy therapy. We will also have a featured expert speaker series, and thanks to Dr. Margaret Maduri, we will be inviting Dr. Joel Furman in the fall, who will be talking about how to disease-proof your child and giving you insight on how to bring nutrition and wellness into the mix, especially for those people who are anxious and desiring other ways other than pharmaceutical alternatives or complements to that in their children's treatment plan. And finally, we will have ongoing research, and guess what? Your voice, your active participation becomes the research. As Dr. Lieberman said, we're not here to push top down. This is what the research says, and this is what we want you to do. We're here to be co-creators in the research and to present to the world the most effective strategies that can transform and really bring the social justice agenda to life. And so I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to thank you for your open hearts. I want to thank you for your open minds. I want to thank you for your willingness to really step back in your worldview and your perspective and prepare yourself for a paradigm shift as we bring forth this social justice agenda. And what are we committing ourselves to do today, as Dr. Taylor says, to do what? To nurture in a beautiful, righteous, and equitable way. Can we all stand up and say that one time, just for that 1 minute commitment today? You get your neurodiverse stretch in. We're here to do what?
To nurture
in a
beautiful, righteous, and equitable way.
And so it is. Thank you all for being here today.
So I know you did stand up, but I think maybe just another 5-minute break, get something to drink. Now the next thing that we have on the agenda is our panel. So part of what we want to do is hear from people who've had particular experiences in school related to the ways that they learned that worked or perhaps didn't work. So we're going to hear from our panel, and you'll hear a little shaker or a little dong or something in about 5 minutes to come back. But why don't you just take a little stretch, think about, go tap someone on the shoulder and tell them what you learned from Dr. Niki's talk.